Okay, so welcome to the second episode of my NIM live stream. And today people voted for the nimpretty topic, which is a tool that should do something like Go's formatting tool. And so yeah, I thought I had configured this properly so that I could see the chat, but apparently it doesn't really work. Yeah, not sure. Oh well. Alright, so actually this tool already exists and it's in tools, and but it uses the compiler API, and there it is. Okay, so the thing to notice here is that it actually overrides the nim file that you give it to it, and so for testing this is really annoying. And so the first thing we will do is to change that. So here you can see we pretty print this in file, so we parse it and actually we render it, and that's pretty much the tool. All the interesting code is within the compiler. And now I'm getting here. Zoom in so we can read the code. Okay, let's see. Okay, now you can read it better, I guess, and I can't read it as well anymore, but all right. Okay, so the first thing is I want to remove the browser source. Okay. So I think I'll just use an out file, and that is the in file with a different file extension, and let's name it .pretty.nim for now, and we'll write it to the out file. And I think we should try this with, well, let's say HTTP client, because it's much code and probably it uses many of NIM's constructs, and so that we will see immediately where the problems are. Okay, let's compile it. And oh yeah, I will explain later why that switch is required. Okay, so now we have a nimpretty exe, and we want to run it on libpure HTTP client. And I hope yeah, okay, that's very nice. Invalid token, what? Oh yeah, I see. Nimpretty is shit. Okay, let's see. Obviously oh yeah, but it in the default setting it produces a backup file at least. Okay, so the problem is that it's parsing a file named HTTP client and doesn't do the .nim extension. So I think I'll fix that here. And so add file X adds a file extension if there is no other file extension. So that's exactly what we want here. And let's try again. Ah, wait, what? No, wrong command. This one. Okay. I cannot open libpure http client.pretty.nim. What? Why? Why? That starts great. Yeah, I mean, okay, you cannot open this file. You're supposed to create this file, maybe. Oh, I see. Okay. So actually, this needs to be patched too, because I want to read the original content to not mess with the tokens. Yeah, well, that's difficult, but I think I'll patch it here. I mean, probably render module isn't used much in the compiler's code. Yeah, okay, so it's only used by nimpretty, and so it's free to change. We are free to change it here. What? Okay. You should add URL and properties of the source, not its name. Oh, I see. It's about this OBS tool again. Yeah, should I fix it now, or can we just proceed, because it's really distracting me? All right, for now I'm gonna fix this. So we'll add out file here, and yeah, we need to distinguish between in file and out file here. I don't have a second screen. Actually, I could use a second screen, and that's a pretty good idea. So the next time I'll likely do it. Okay. So render module now takes two file names, and probably this should be in file now. In name, yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, let's give it another shot. Yeah, okay. So we should have now a file http client.pretty.nim, exactly this one. And the first thing that we notice is that the comments are off. So unfortunately the parser keeps the documentation comments, but not the ordinary comments. So we need a way to keep the comments somehow. And I think there are actually, this is looking quite okay. Oh, and then it goes into red here. Let's see what that is. Oh, oh, that's a pretty big issue. So, oh my, this will be hard. So it actually destroys our string comments here. Well, no, it's off by 1, right? So it should be get or default, and without the dot. And yeah, this isn't really looking well either. Pass body. So and this is also wrong. It's not an assignment, it's equality. And let's see. This is also wrong. So this is kind of like, I think operators are wrong. So, but oh my, this will be interesting because look at this. This is all correct, right? So here we get the proper equality, assignments, and string literals. And suddenly for pass body, it starts to mess things up. And perhaps it's caused by this trailing comment. I suppose we should check this. So let's remove this comment and see if it, I'm not sure when Visual Studio updates this. Oh yeah, it did. And it got further, but then it failed spectacularly again. And there's again the comment. So these comments really are messing with its internals for some reason. Actually, I wanted to show you something else, and that is something like well, this doesn't really have any of this. So oh yeah, here for instance, this new line here would be skipped because it passes this code into an AST, and then it dumps the AST again and pretends to know what it should look like, but of course details like these are missed. And I think there is, once it's off, I think it doesn't really synchronize anymore. So once it's wrong, all the rest is wrong too. Yeah, well, okay, that's interesting. All wrong. Okay. So to do. Fix comment handling. Keep what's it name? Keep optional new lines. And the third feature that I would like to do is detect indentation widths. So right now, it uses 2 spaces for indentation, which is what the nim compiler and the standard library use. But I want nimpretty to just detect the style of the file and adhere to that. And that's the best option in my opinion, because then we can keep nimpretty clean, so no options to tinker with, but it does the right thing anyway. Okay, so maybe I should explain a bit how these things could happen. So actually, what we do is as I said, so how it works. We pass the code into an AST and we render the AST back into text. And everything that is not part of the AST is actually lost in this process. So, for example, in nim you could write something like I don't know, A and then a line feed and then B. Okay, but you could also say instead of line feed, this is binary 0B. And so these 2 string literals are identical for the lexer and the parser and everything else that comes afterwards. But we must keep this notation because otherwise it would be really confusing. So tokens have actual semantics that are not reflected in this AST representation. And so what I did is to hack it into the compiler really. So this is the lexer, and there is some, oh yeah, here it is already. So we have tokens, right? And we actually use a special version of this lexer when we use nimpretty. So if we are in nimpretty mode, we store the offsets of the token within the file to be able to render it as it was seen in the file. So and let's see. Oh no, that's not what I want to show. So we have this renderer. This is also, by the way, used for error messages. So whenever nim says something like, I don't know, expression X has no type or is ambiguous, this renderer is actually doing its job and renders the AST back into the textual representation. Okay, so in order to deal with this string literal problem, in this renderer we keep the original content of the file as a single string, and yeah, here it is. So atom is, well, it's the atoms of the grammar, so it's an identifier or a string literal or an integer literal or something like that. So, and what we do here, if we are to render such an atom, we actually use these offset information and just use the substring of the original content. And this is actually the bug here, or the problem. So if these offsets are wrong in the lexer, then we take a substring that doesn't quite match. So let's see. Where does it start? Yeah, so this pretty much looks like many off by one errors. And so that's exactly what happens. In the lexer there are probably bugs which cause these offsets to be off and everything goes downhill from here. Okay, so and I think that's the bug we should really start working on, because without this fix we cannot use nimpretty at all. Okay, so let's have a look again. So we have this comment here, and as I explained, this comment is unfortunately ignored, but this doesn't explain that we get these offsets wrong, because okay, we skipped this comment, but the offset for pass body, for instance, should still be correct. Let's look at it again. And yeah, pass body is still correct. So what's the first where it gets it wrong? This guy is okay. Yes, that makes sense. So this is I don't really remember the name. I think it's an extended raw string literal. So it's short for this thing here. And I bet that come on, that it should, no, interesting, still wrong. I thought this is a token class, and I thought for this token class the offsets are computed in the wrong way, but it's still wrong. And headers is, so we are missing an S and we are using a space. So we take this token instead of this token, and that's after an if. But there's an if here as well, and for this it's correct, so it's not the if. And maybe it's the equality, but we have an equality here as well, and it's correct. Okay, well, let's perhaps add some assertion. So this is our result, and what we think is that the result should be the same. So if say we just have an identifier, okay? So other tokens might be more complex with the quoting, etc., but identifiers are pretty simple. So if we have an identifier, then the assertion is that this substring here is actually the same as my identifier. And if not, we fail. And now instead of producing broken code, we die with an assertion error. And well, okay, I mean, I can check if it works, but yeah, it's still not very helpful. So I want to debug some information, but I'm not sure what. I mean, I know what these strings are like. I have looked at them already. So if you have more ideas, please comment in the chat. So oh, there's a comment. Okay, the question is, shouldn't we really have two different AST nodes for doc comments and comments? Yes, we should, and we used to have them, but then I removed it again because so in the original nim, all comments were actually part of the AST, and so you were restricted in where you could put these comments, and people complained that it's too restrictive or different from Python. And so this feature was disabled, and at the same time the comments were removed from the AST, and now we are having fun with this. But as I said, the offsets are wrong, and until these are correct, there's little point in making the rest work with respect to the comments and the optional white space that we also want to detect and keep. So okay, I mean, I know these are wrong and these are off by 1, but why are they off by 1? What's so special about this if? It's if equality, and this is also if equality, and we did get that right? Yeah, I guess I should start another file and see what is the actual minimum example that produces this problem. So let's save it, and I don't know, pretty test name. Multiple byte Unicode runes maybe. No, that's not a problem here. That's all ASCII. Parentheses around the if condition. What is the C? Well, it's just that I'm lazy. Okay. I hate autocompletion. I don't know. And fun fact, we actually don't have to produce valid nim code because we are only parsing it and not checking the types or the identifiers really. So and it's correct. And let's see if we can produce it with a comment. Still correct. It's in a while. There is an... No, that's not the one. That's the one. Quality chunked colon. Maybe just this. Maybe, yeah, let's just try this. Looks okay to me. All right, so let's try this whole thing. And still correct. Okay, well, let's try more. Let's try everything until this. What? Oh, this is the new feature of Visual Studio, that it totally messes up your indentation when you paste something. Really helpful. And yes, we reproduce the problem. So maybe, let's see, maybe it's caused by this top level. I see. And I'm beginning to have an idea. So, but what do people say? It's visual. What? Okay, I'm not gonna read this. Nimpretty is too girly. How about nimclean? I like pretty. Okay, I think the problem here is that it's actually just too. Can I? Can I get some, I don't know. Anyway, there is, I think it's nim space, yeah. So the lexer actually depends on this lex-space file here, which does the buffer handling. And recently I patched the buffer handling to care about offsets. And so we got this offset base here. And the buffer size is 8K. And I think this example is, but actually I should test it first. But I assume the problem is in something here where the offset base is wrong, and so at this point, so once we refill our buffer, we get this off by 1 problem. And so it doesn't really depend on the tokens or anything else, but just on the buffer position. And so let's see what's the problem. We are off by 1, but it's actually -1, right? So well, I should probably fix this by +1. Actually, I have no idea. I usually just test these things until they work, to be honest. It's because you just, I don't know, you get them wrong all the time, and so yeah. Okay, so the hypothesis is that the full file now works too, and it does. Okay, so that was actually easier than I thought. Okay, so now that we've got this off by 1 error figured out, we can look again at the file and hope it's correct. Is that LE in the original too? Yeah, I think it is. All right. So let's look at our to-do. So the comment handling is the hardest part. So I actually want to change with the easiest, and that is detect the indentation and adhere to it. So Dom says, now that you fixed that, change semicolons to commas, please. It makes me twitch. Get it? No, I don't. But I'll consider it. I don't know. I like these semicolons because, so actually to explain further, so in nim you can have like parameter lists, and so after the type here you can either put a comma or a semicolon in this position. And the default that the renderer does is the semicolon, because I think it reads better, because we have the comma here to separate the identifiers, and then the semicolon to separate the identifier lists from each other. And Dominic wants me to change it to the comma because he likes it better. And I think we might have a vote on that, and then we will decide, because I don't really care, but I think the point of nimpretty is that the code looks deterministic, so we need to decide one way or the other. The renderer should do it intelligently then, instead of putting everything as a semicolon. Yes, well, as I said, we'll have a vote on that. Okay, so we want to detect indentation widths. There are a couple of ways to do that, in fact. I think the easiest, which will also get things wrong, probably, well, so the easiest way is, say we have a code like this. The easiest way to detect the indentation is to look at the first indentation and say, okay, this is the determining width that we want. Else we could also, I don't know, maybe, well, this is not valid nim code anyway then. So I think that's the best. We need to watch out that, for instance, I used 4 spaces here, that these do not count, but since we are in the lexer is by then already in the state triple string literal, and so it will work out just fine, I think. So so yeah. So yeah, that's actually the right position already. So we skip white space here, and we actually count this strong space A here. This is for another feature that I don't want to get into. But apparently this is already what we are after, and now the task is to get this piece of information from the lexer into our renderer step. And I think this will cause problems. Yeah, so we have this parse file here that has this parsers object, and let's see. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, okay. Let's see. And we reset it for that's okay. So we need to save it if it's the first token. And so we'll do it this way. So as long as it's 0, we are after this information. And we need to add the state to the lexer. Okay, now the lexer knows about this, but the parser doesn't care, and the renderer has no chance of knowing it. Actually, and this is parse file, so let's see. Yeah, it's used all over the place. Okay. So the parser has a lexer object here, and the lexer now knows the indentation width and nobody else. But actually I could test that before proceeding. So too many open files. That's so distracting. Yeah, okay, let's give it a shot. So there is something. Yeah, now I know. Wrong. Pretty test. That's not the indentation. It should be 2. Maybe it's the space here that's used instead. It would make sense. So we need an indentation token. So let's see. Oh, we have also an indentation here. So that's probably what we want, instead of this strange strong space thing. -1. Gets better and better. So yeah, if it's lower than 0 or equal to 0, then we don't know. Yeah, okay. Okay, so back to the real problem. How do I get this piece of information to the code that actually cares about it? A pretty common problem in programming, actually, and I'm afraid nim offers no new insights on this problem. Let's maybe we should instead, oh yeah, we need this indentation width, and this long indentation width is a constant here, and it needs to be a variable, right? And the question is, what should long indentation width be actually? So the long indentation is used for breaking up long comments, if I recall correctly. So if I have a long condition here, and then it continues, and then I don't want the indentation to be 2 spaces but 4 spaces, so that it, I don't know, I just like it this way better than this way, because then the condition and the action, the corresponding action, are on the same indentation width, and so I don't like that. And so, but this is, I don't know how could we detect that. So we know we want 2 spaces, but what should this be? Just always the indentation width plus 2 or times 2, or I don't know. Any ideas? Any comments? Shouldn't it align with the above condition? I don't know what that means. So like this. So, and then it would be a single space. Indent one more level than the previous line. Yeah, okay, but then it would be indent width times 2. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. I don't know. If I align it, then there's only a single space between these lines, and I'm not so sure about that. And it also probably is harder to implement because the code doesn't do that right now. What do you think was what I meant? Shouldn't be plus 2. No, it's times 2, not plus 2. You just said indent one more level than the previous line. So it's times 2, not plus 2. Okay. Maximum line length is probably staying a constant. And these are variables now. And okay, so we need to send this intent width. I mean, we probably, what we could do is yes, and that's probably what I want to do, in fact, is to hack it into the compiler. So we don't make this a state of the lexer, but instead we make it a global variable, and the renderer already imports the lexer, I think. Yeah, and so it will just use this variable from lexer to get the width. And yeah, that's probably what I want to do, because otherwise I would tell the parser about this indentation width, and well, you've seen the code. It bubbles up, and this way it's gonna stay clean, or at least small. Okay, so people are still writing about what Python does. Yeah, I won't follow this link now. I want to proceed. You can submit pull requests afterwards and make nimpretty the best tool there is. Because now after this session you should know how it works. Well, a bit. Okay, so this indentation width, and probably, I don't know, no. Okay, indentation width is now a global, and in the compiler I have this old guideline that globals actually start with a lower g, making them a bit ugly because globals are ugly, and I think I'll stick to that for now. Okay, and we want to so actually we want to keep it as it was, I think. And for nimpretty we are gonna use this thing instead, and I hope it works to use a template here instead. So that I don't have to change anything else really. So this is untyped indentation width times 2. And so this is the template here resolves to this global, and I think I could even make it even more readable in this case. And yeah, that's the change. I want to know where's the pretty test. So the first indentation is what counts. So I'm using 4 spaces here, and only in this section, and we'll try if it works. Probably it won't even compile. Yeah, that's sure. Does it still work? Proc untyped. Yeah, I need to use the parentheses here. I think it's pretty annoying. Okay. Okay. And it doesn't work. Yay. It doesn't work. Why not? Here's an indentation that I missed. Okay. Yeah. And Visual Studio Code gets the markers wrong. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, but looks good, right? Looks very good. Okay, so and as I said, comment handling is hard, so I'm gonna test this optional new lines or implement this first. So let's see. No, initial comment. Enable editor white space all, maybe. Yeah, well, no. Okay, so as I said, we pass it into an AST and we render the AST back into text. And that's actually a pretty bad way of doing things, except that I think the other ways are as bad. So for your information, gofmt tool uses the very same approach. Okay, so what we know in the so say I have this nim code with a new line here, and the renderer would render it at this. What we can do to detect this is we know the line information in the AST, and so we could compute the maximum line of this construct, and we can compute the minimum line of this construct, and then we diff these, and if the difference is, well, I don't know, actually the difference between these gives us the number of new lines that we want to have in the code. So instead of a single new line, use this instead. Yeah, okay, that should be feasible. And since we know the line information in the AST already, it's again the renderer that we are gonna patch. And so yeah, we need this diff. I will call it line diff. We are taking two AST nodes and producing an int. And as I said, it's max line of A. Actually, it's min line of B minus max line of A. And later, when we use this, we will check if it's 0 or negative. We will ignore this thing and use the single new line instead to make it robust. There's another command. Remove all empty lines and wrap sections into unnamed blocks instead. No, that would change the scoping of the code, and also unnamed blocks are ugly. Probably I can compute min-max at the same time for a node. So I'm returning a tuple here, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So we want to make it recursive, and AST is pretty easy to do recursion on. So save length is like, well, give me the number of children of the node, but if it's an atom, produce 0, and then we wouldn't enter the loop at all, and this is exactly what we want to do here. So yeah, ask the children, and current minimum and current maximum min-max line of the ith child. And so if the current minimum is smaller than the current minimum, it's less. So we're gonna update this, and if the maximum is bigger than what we thought it would be, then it's a better thing. And we're gonna start with I think I need to convert this, and we start with the current node line information. So unfortunately, we only need the minimum of B and the maximum of A, so computing both at the same time doesn't really work out, but it's okay, I think. So minimum, maximum. And so this is a tuple here for the guys who don't really know nim, and this is tuple at position 0, so the first component of the tuple, and this is the second component of the tuple. And the compiler complains, but I think its knowledge is just a bit outdated. Another comment: shouldn't that tuple be named? No, because it's min max. What should the names be? Like min and max? Okay. Yeah, probably he's right. But I'm too lazy to change it now. Okay, so we got this line diff figured out. We have, and this is, by the way, very old code here. So most of this was actually written in Delphi or Pascal, and then translated into nim, and then patched and patched and patched, and never really rewritten into good nim code. So the interesting thing is this here, and this is probably gonna cause some trouble now. So we have add a pending new line, or put a new line, or do we have a previous new line, or put new line with the indentation, or an optional new line with and without indentation, and we have an indentation followed by a new line and a detantation. So let's see where this new line is actually used in the code. It's only used twice. So interestingly, these others all end up calling the same. And put new line is okay. So pending new line is used in two places. And put new line is used in 9 places. But I think yeah, well, so when I'm in a section like this, where I'm actually knowing the AST, I can patch this thing here to for example, so here is like an optional uline for reasons that I don't really remember. So but in this case I could give it n at position I followed by n at position I plus 1, so that it can compute the line difference. And of course I need to watch out here, because now the whole loop needs to go to -2 instead. But at least I have the knowledge at this position to fix the code. So import statement is probably not affected. Well, I think we will have to live with a suboptimal solution here, and only care about the statement list or something. So the most important construct is actually, so where I would care about an optional new line or not is usually within a section of code that does something, right? So for example, if I have a type foo here, I don't know, object, and then I have a variable here, and then I make 2 new lines. This is probably not any new information that I care about. So if the nimpretty produces this instead, it's probably worth it. So I think the only interesting case where I care about this instead of this is for the so-called statement list. So, and the nim compiler is nk for nim node kind. So nk statement list is actually the only case where we really care of keeping the new lines in the code. At least for a first version of this tool, this should be pretty okay. So, as I said, statement list, or yeah, so this is, or there are a few variants of this case really, but these are all the same here. And Yes, that's okay. So I think we only need to patch this stuff here. Remark. It should really reduce multiple adjacent new lines into a single new line, right? I don't know. I think there is a limit, like some people might like 2 new lines as a section and then 1 new line here and then 2 lines for some reason. But I think after 4 or 3 it's really just, I mean, yeah, why would I write this? So I think we should limit it to, let's say, 3 new lines, and so after 3 new lines we are going to use instead. So anything more than that, and we stick to the 3. But I'm not sure. Probably we can just copy a Go format here and see what it does. Well, I won't look at it here because I don't have Go installed. But somebody will tell me soon, I'm sure. Okay, so we have this new line here. So that's actually pretty straightforward, I think. So as I said, we need we need 2 children for this call, and so for the last, so I'm gonna replicate this logic for the last iteration. And but only if it's not empty, of course. And so yeah, probably I'll get the length of this node first, and so then it's until L-2, and also I'm gonna rewrite this into more idiomatic name code. So, and this is also something that the tool ideally would do. Like, I prefer to write it this way and not this way, because with my way the predecessor is more obvious. So I think right now nimpretty would produce this instead, which is consistent but foolish. Okay, so this is the case for the last node. Is that even required though? I mean, couldn't I? Yeah, I think it's not, because I can just check here if it's still less than -1, we can call our new patched, I mean, and then we don't need to replicate all this logic. Yeah, that's much easier, right? And also I'll clean up the code a bit. So these sons It's just the child at position I. Yeah, the compiler complains because there is no uline that can do this computation. Another remark. It's one style to rule them all. So yes, that's the point of nimpretty. We don't want configuration in this tool. It's all about the one style to format code. And the remark is that means throwing away the whole style and sensitivity feature. Well, no, because actually style and sensitivity is about identifiers, and nimpretty doesn't touch identifiers, so it's not the same. And also the point of the style insensitivity is not that you shouldn't be consistent. It's actually more like you want your code to be consistent even if it's not from you. So if my style is what's its name, a camel case, and I'm importing a library which uses these underscores, then for the consistency in my own code, the idea is that I am allowed to write it underscores, so that within my file things are consistent, right? That's the point, and it doesn't conflict with nimpretty's goal really. But maybe you'll disagree. So, okay, the compiler tells me what to do. That's always nice. So I need to write this thing here. And I should probably use go to definition or something. Yeah, and these need patching, gdent. And in fact, I'm seeing now that this doesn't produce a new line. It only says to the renderer that there's a pending new line that you should care about. And so, okay, and the pending new line, well, we need to patch that then. Okay, people are still discussing about this style insensitivity. Yeah, well. So let's see, this is probably this, and we want to introduce something like pending new line count, I guess, where I call my new diff feature, so line diff. be. And now I need to ensure that this pending new line is actually oh yeah, I think it's only here. So yes. And yes, I need to declare this, but it's, I think it's, we take the maximum, so, and we also need to, isn't there like a system cap? I don't know the name. There's some standard library proc actually that limits things. What's its name again? Maybe I'll find it. If not, I'm gonna need to use it. Yes, we have min. No cap. I think it's clamp. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's exactly what I want to use. So I want to clamp this new line count to 1 and I set 3, right? So maximum 3 new lines. So, and the only thing left now is to declare this property somewhere. And yeah, I think that's the good solution. Okay, it compiles and we want to test our pretty test, and I want to use a superfluous new line here. So exciting, right? Who wants to bet? Will it work? Will it crash? Will it not crash but not produce the proper result? You need to be quick. HTTP. Yeah. Kind of. Kind of. Well, at least it does something. But it's not correct. So let's see. This is affected. So it's all about the race here, and so the remark is maybe token.ident is levels, not amount of spaces. I don't really... where would I use indent? Indent. So, I mean, yes, indent is the number of spaces, or what? Is levels not amount of spaces? Yeah, but why would I care? I mean, I just copied this blindly from here and added my new rule. So I don't really know, but it doesn't really matter. I think there's something wrong with my logic. So let me have a look. So again, this raise is actually what we want to affect, and above is affected probably because it's pen, and below it's also affected, and then it's correct again, but it's not just above, but one line above that. So I mean, it's a pending new line, so it's lazy, and probably that means that's why we get it wrong. But if the new line is emitted lazily, then why would this affect this line here already? We have to watch out, because actually these statement lists can be nested, and if they are nested, we do not want more indentation levels, because that is actually a feature that makes the AST easier to use in the macro system. So you can nest these statement lists arbitrarily, but it's still conceptually a single unnested list. And so this is what the code here tries to do. I probably I do not know. I doubt though that this happens for us already, because it's not produced by a macro, right? We get the AST right from the parsing step. And yeah, maybe it's yeah, actually it should be this way, right? So we care about the difference between this, what we are currently doing, and what we did before. And then I need to check that the I is in fact greater than 0, so that I actually have an element here. But still it doesn't really explain everything, but let's see what difference it makes. It's Oh yeah, I think I need to reset it. So this is correct now, I think. Yeah. But afterwards this pending new line thing is not resetted properly, and so it produces these artifacts here until it's another statement list that is actually processed in here. Okay, that makes sense. So I think every time I call this opt_nl without the arguments, I need to set it back to 0 because there's no pending going on. And the another interesting fact, perhaps, it's actually, it doesn't matter if it's 0 or 1 here, is that I used to mark my bugs in the code with bug fix, with the idea being that at one point in time I would go grab through my source code and look where the bug fixes are in order to measure which kind of problems introduce bugs or not. But I never did that. And either way, I mean, this information is now obviously also available via the Git history, right? But anyway. So let's see. Yeah. And actually it's working. So this is okay. But this is probably caused by the fact that, yeah, it's like it's a comment here, and the comment, we do not really know that the comment is 3 lines, and so when we compute the minimum of this AST and the maximum of this AST, we get it wrong, because actually in the AST there are new lines. And so there are 2 ways to fix that. One is to not care about comments, or the other is to make the min-max computation correct, which yeah, I don't know, it's probably not that hard, really. So if it's a triple string literal, then we need to count the lines. And if it's, I do not really it's a comment statement. There have been changes to this guy, and now I do not know where to find the comment, really. But yeah, let's see. So I think these are the only token kinds that can span multiple lines. So and I also think we have actually count lines in the standard library. Yes. But I think it's this way. Okay. Okay, now we are cooking. Yes, very nice. So I claim this feature is done. And I get my use string word, yeah. Okay. People talking about nim_suggest crashes. Yes, I know it crashes, and I don't really know why, and eventually I'll improve it. Okay, this is now the only thing that is left to do, and there's still time left, so we'll give it a shot. And then afterwards, maybe if I get it to work, that is, I think we should announce this tool somewhere so that people can test it more and give feedback and report it, because I think it should be quite useful already then with this thing implemented. Okay, so I thought about the problem, and I played already a bit with this. So my idea would be, so we have a comment here, and it's so actually there are two problems. So let's split this up. So one problem is obviously comments that are not doc comments are skipped. And the other problem is that the comment kind is not known either. So I think because these are quite new, so there's this way of documenting things, right? A multi-line comment. But it could also be spelled as this. And I think since this is new, nimpretty will actually produce this here instead. But we can test, right? Let's test. And so this is also a problem, and we shouldn't conflate these two kinds of comments. Okay, and also the line wrap is also, so it also changes what the comment looks like. If it's too long, then it will split the line, and that's dangerous because the tool doesn't really understand what's in the comment, and so it shouldn't do that either. So I claimed that this won't be capped properly. Let's see what it does. Yeah. Okay, and also I claimed if this gets way too long, yada 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 yada. Oh, that's the wrong file. then it will split up this line for us. No, it doesn't. That's okay. Okay. The better. So, but this problem is correct. This exists. So there's a new remark. What? Ah. What about multiple consecutive single line comments with an empty new line in between? I don't know. I think these are all merged. Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, non-doc comments. Yeah, I can't check non-doc comments because non-doc comments are not shown in the output. But I think it's merged. All right, so yeah, my idea is that every token like this if here has a potentially attached comment, and this comment is always before this token, and so if I have a file like a nim file with consisting of only a single comment, then it produces the Lexa produces actually a end of file token for the parser, and this end of file token would be annotated with this comment. And also if I have a comment at the end of the file, then again I always produce this end of file token, and so I have the chance to put this token in here after I processed everything. The parser needs to produce for this thing, then it needs to produce a statement list with a nim code here obviously, and actually an empty node where we can then attach the comment to. So, and the attached comment should be done with this offset hack that I've shown that we need to do already for all kinds of things in order to keep string literals proper and etc. And this rule should work for all kinds of comments. So if it's a document comment, it still applies. If it's strangely nested, it would still work. And so another remark of empty procs. Oh yeah, then that's actually a good point. So the point is, if I have a proc here, comment, then this comment would be attached to the following token, which would be the eof. And when we render this back, it would produce this thing instead. But I think that's not so much of a problem, because right now this is not valid nim code, right? It's not. It needs a discard. And so I think it will work out. So wrong code is transformed into code that is still wrong. I mean, okay, it's a bit ugly, but it's acceptable. And he says import C. What? What about import C? So, okay. So the complaint here is now that I can have a proc that's imported, and then I have can I have a doc comment that. In fact, that's actually what I think what our guidelines say. So this is how you should document imported things. Okay. So, okay, I guess it means the comment refers to the previous token. So it attaches to the previous token in order to get this to work. And then we only have the problem, what if it starts with a comment and there is no token, but we don't have a start token really. It also fields of type enums, yes, okay. Well, I could attach the comment to the previous token, and then, but then the problem remains, because this is different from this. And so it really doesn't work either. So yeah, my plan was to throw the existing comment handling away and start with this rule here, and then it would be solved. But that's correct, that's a problem. And so, but we have already logic in the lexer and parser to detect this case versus this case, and so this logic needs to stay. and needs to be expanded. And this is gonna be messy because that's what I first tried. Maybe we can look at the code and see the problem. Yeah, here it says. So documentation comments are not skipped, but other comments are skipped. And if I change this just for nimpretty, then the nimpretty uses different parsing rules than the compiler itself. And that's not good. There's another remark. Okay. Indent handling must precede comment handling. Yeah, actually in the compiler it's intertwined. So that's the skip step here is really skip white space and process comments. So most of this logic is correct. Yeah, but this is wrong. So but maybe if we combine these approaches, maybe if I say, because there is some logic for this in the compiler already. So maybe if I say, okay, I'm still gonna ignore this comment, but I will track it. So I will give this token the information about this comment. And then I will, in the renderer, I will see for every atom that I render if there is an attached comment or not. And also I need to keep in mind whether the token followed or not this, or whether the comment did follow or did precede the token. But if it did precede, then oh yeah, then this indentation handling that's already done here ignores it. So yes, idea, add preceding comment and following comment to all token nodes instead of just comment. Yeah, but I mean, it's hard. What if I write and then I don't know. I think nim doesn't really allow that, I guess, but then I proceed with the expression here. It's a bad example because it doesn't. But what about this? So this token gets the comment here, and when I render this token, I will add this comment. And yeah, okay, that should probably work. So I think, I mean, what the compiler really does, it's actually, I think it's this way. So a comment belongs to the preceding token unless the indentation suggests otherwise, and then it's a token on its own, this comment. And I think that works. The only problem is for this very first token in the file. first comment in the file, because this would require to attach this token to this guy here. But I think for this we can produce a token on its own instead, so a comment token. Any remark? Start every nim AST with an empty node. Yeah, that's the alternative. But I don't think we need this because it used to work already for this, so I only need to ensure that I don't mess with this too much. Okay, so now no more distractions, please. So I said I must not touch this logic, but track comments here. And so that's what I will do. But maybe I will do it for every case. Because at this point we don't really care if it's a documentation comment or another comment. So so what I did, no, that's not, come on. Sometimes it's really strange. So I hacked this offset information into the line information object, because that was the least amount of work, because that's already part of the token and then part of the AST, and so I cannot forget to copy these fields around if I put it in this object. And so we probably won't comment offset A, comment offset B here, and let's grep for it. Okay, so I only need to set it in the lexer. I mean to copy it in the lexer. Oh. Okay, and now I only need to track these, and I think this is actually the only place. Let's see again. So this is scan comment, this is skip multi-line comment, but by then we already, and then there's scan comment again. And what is scan comment? Oh no, so both of these positions are affected, in fact. Oh my. And I think the logic is we skip white space and comments unless it's a documentation comment. Then we break it, then we break, and then we come into scan comment, which actually says we assert that it's a documentation comment. Okay, so I need to patch this guy, and and this guy, this section here, and I'm not so sure how I did the tracking in the first place. So offset base plus position. So the start is at position. At the end is here. And of course this is only required when defined nimpretty. And it's offset B. Okay, and now we need to do the same for the documentation comments, or maybe not. I mean, the documentation comments are already kept in the AST, so maybe I'll leave them as they are, but then we are back at this problem, which we could fix differently though. I'm not so sure. Maybe for now I won't decide on that. I will just try to get the simple comments to render. Okay. So then in the renderer we need to deal with this appropriately. and yes. I think I'll do it this way. So if this offset is strictly less than comment offset B, we know we have an in fact a comment, because otherwise both are 0, I hope. And we want to get the comment part and that is again this nice substring expression here. Oh, and this is another issue. I do not know what this if expression should render into, and I do not know what nimpretty does with it. Probably I want it this way. But then the line is too long, so I don't know. Okay, so the comment is after the token, right? And so actually I want to put a space before it, but only if it exists. And so I want to return comment and result. Now the question is there the new line part of the comment or not? And I think it is. Well, and but then it should be +1 here, but not here. Oh, I don't know. What does token and ignore do with this position anyway? Yeah, it takes the position. So to be consistent with this, I would need to use +1 here. All right. But not here. So it's comment plus the concatenation of result. And now there are cases where I cannot just extract the token this way and fall back to the old implementation. And for this I would need to add the comment to, but then it gets ugly. Yeah, I'll probably ignore this problem for now. And this is debug code that, yeah, I want to keep it. All right, let's give it a shot. It compiles and what do we want to test again? Oh yeah, this is this comment, but this is the tricky one, which is because it's the first one, and so we also are interested in keeping a comment like here. And let's see what it does to this. Yeah, well, it misses the first comment and then it fucks up the rest. Like, really? What is... Yeah. To do the accept doesn't work. So this is apparently attached to many things. And this likewise, and I think that is actually the top level statement, but only the first, I don't know, space, new line, yeah, new line. So in theory, by removing this, I will remove these guys here. Yeah. And the to do is here, but replicated. Yeah, and I think it's actually again the same problem. Which is that we I don't know, that we don't reset these offsets. And but it's attached to the token and not to the Lexa state. However, we reuse tokens for efficiency, and so it's actually the bug. So I think there is some init token somewhere, and I need to reset these. Yes, there's init token and fill token. I'm not so sure about the difference really, but I'm gonna patch both of them to 0. Probably I should also do this with these offsets, because I used to miss them, but I will do this in the next step. So let's add this command back. And see what it okay, the top level is gone, this is gone too. And I think I don't really know where it is. yeah, my comment here is gone to, what is this, read all, yeah, okay. But fill token is called before this. Oh yeah, I think. Yeah, I see the problem. So the logic is skip white space and comments and then produce a token. And so the comment is not after the token, but before. If we have a comment, it's before the token. And so at least this is wrong. It should be result and comment because it follows. But it still doesn't really work because it skips these tokens and doesn't remember them at all. So I fill the token, so these two offsets become 0. Then I skip and the offsets become some value. And then I continue with the token handling. And yeah, I don't know. Shouldn't it work this way a bit? But so if this comment here is attached to the type, I mean, there's no way of getting this to work, because so even if it would remember the simple comments, it would probably produce something like this. But it was clearly attached to this. I don't know, it seems pretty hard and it's getting late. So I'll probably quit for today and continue to think about this problem. And maybe I will declare comments to be part of the AST again for the upcoming version in order to solve these issues, because then it's a clean solution, because then it's obvious that foo belongs to parse header and not to type. I don't know, we'll see. All right, thanks for listening. I hope it was somewhat entertaining, and see you guys